Be brave, they say, when you're about to sit in the dentist's chair. Be brave, they say, when you're about to face the enemy in no man's land. Be brave, they say, when you're being asked to choose a creative concept for your upcoming advertising campaign. Bravery is a core element in the development of the world's best brand ideas. Or at least it certainly looks that way, judging by the hundreds of LinkedIn posts or business blogs that seem to wang on about it endlessly. A few years ago, I was on the panel of an internal event run by one of the world's biggest advertisers. And one of the junior brand managers in the audience asked a very reasonable question, something along the lines of, thanks for showing us all these great case studies of award-winning work, but have any of you got any advice that I can take back to my day job to help me develop my own similar campaigns? One of the other panelists jumped in and said, creativity needs cojones. And while many in the room applauded, I just thought that was a pretty unhelpful response to a sincerely asked question. This sort of sloganizing dominates our industry. It's intended to be inspirational, but all it does is make creativity more ambiguous and belittle its role as a serious business tool. Our task should be to ask, how do we take creative bravery from a catchy slogan to an everyday mode of thinking for our clients? But within the slogan lies a truth. If the number one barrier to effective brand communications is simply to be noticed in the first place, and it is, then there is absolutely a need for your ideas to stand out in order to be remembered. By having the courage to zig while others zag, to be contrarian, or just downright unreasonable. And the unreasonableness of many truly creative ideas is precisely the barrier to getting them approved. Now, there are many techniques that you can deploy when selling anti-logical ideas to your clients, like reframing risk as opportunity or just highlighting the cost of not doing things differently. But as the first step, we will give our ideas a better chance of being signed off if we acknowledge that the hardest task in this business falls not to those of us who come up with creative ideas, but those who risk their careers in approving them. How can we make it easier for our clients to overcome the perceived risk in doing so? Whatever your approach, you must realize that some of the best, most well-remembered and most effective creative ideas of all time fundamentally challenge the assumptions of the day. VW, Think Small, redefined Americans' expectations of cars in the post-war period. Dos Equis called out the delusion of the rest of the beer category when they simply recognized that consumers don't always drink beer. And Dove's campaign for real beauty rewrote 100 years of conventional beauty brand wisdom. Now, this work absolutely required a certain level of what we could call courage, both its creators and certainly its clients. Not for the first time on this course, we must get our heads around the fact that sometimes a thing and the opposite of that thing are true at the same time. On the one hand, doing things differently is the very essence of creativity, but for some brands, doing things differently might not be as effective as just repeatedly doing the same thing over and over and over again, particularly for category leaders not trying to challenge the status quo. But it would be a mistake to see every brief as a binary choice to either rewrite the rules or repeat what we did last year. The best brands seek to do both at the same time. They maintain a consistent brand idea over many decades while refreshing the execution of that idea for new generations. So, think of Nike, who's just been doing it for over 20 years. The planner, Russell Davis, who's worked at both the agency Wieden & Kennedy and at Nike itself, says loads of Nike briefs will basically do the same thing we did last year, but just do it differently. Or Axe, which has been spraying more to get more for decades. Or Kit Kat, who's been having a break now for well over half a century. Strong brands are strong precisely because they feel familiar and innovative at the same time. We'll leave the last thought to early computing innovator Howard Aiken. Don't worry about people stealing your ideas. If it's truly great, you'll have to ram it down their throats. If you think you've come up with something that's brilliantly creative, if someone likes it, the chances are you probably haven't.